All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Results Driven Podcast. And today we have a special guest, Dan, operating out of the Indianapolis market.
Yes, sir.
And we wanted to bring him on. You know, Dan's doing a phenomenal job. And I think it's good for our listeners to always hear, you know, people who started with us, where they were in their business, the challenges that they were facing, the things that they wanted to solve, and then really what that journey looked like to getting to where someone like Dan is in his current business. So, Dan, let's dive in, man. Let's rewind back to when you first started with us. That's about a year and a half ago. What did the business look like at that point in time, and what were you trying to solve?
Okay, so a year and a half ago when we first, and I thought it was longer than that, bro, but
it might even be closer to 2 years.
I think it's definitely been longer than 2 years, because I initially started with the virtual group you guys have. So it's maybe small group was probably about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, okay.
But initially when we first started our main marketing channel, we had cold calling. It was mainly it actually was just me working all of acquisitions, and I was doing a little bit of dispositions as well. I'm in Lake Mary, Florida, so I live in Central Florida, and then my partner is in Indianapolis. So that's our main market. I would get the properties under contract. He'd be my boots on the ground. He'd go see the property. He'd take the photos. He has a construction background, so he would do the walkthrough, help me with creating the marketing for the dispo side. And then I'd also help out on the dispo side too, but he would do the majority of taking buyer calls and everything. But that was our business pretty much a year and a half ago.
Got it. And what were the challenges you were facing then, or really the goal that you were pursuing? Because at the end of the day, we're all motivated by one of two things. We're moving towards pleasure, meaning we've got this big goal in mind.
Yeah.
And maybe we don't know what we don't know to get there, or like we've got these challenges that we don't know how to fix. And really, what was the driver for you?
Yeah, so I mean, it's both. So a few things. So number one, I wanted to have an office, like an actual office. At the time when I moved in with you guys, I stopped doing the whole business from home. I got a small office in the building that I'm in now, but it was a small little space. It's about the size that I'm in now in my personal office. And then you have my personal office right now was the size of my entire office when I first started with you guys. It was literally just a little 4-wall space with no windows, but it was just so I could be
like a closet.
It's like exactly like I was paying for like a closet. Now I got a whole office space, but I wanted to get that whole office space, start hiring, understand like how to do the training, bring people on, do the onboarding, and then how to assign specific tasks to everybody. So it's not just a big mess, basically. So just where everyone's just all over the place.
Yeah.
So
at that point in time, had you tried to hire anyone at that point?
No, not necessarily. So, I mean, I've had cold callers that I've had, but I don't consider those as hires. And I had people that I had as like driving $4 that I paid like an hourly fee to, but they weren't really, they weren't like in-person office hires. It was just, they were in Indianapolis, and then I pay them to do some driving for dollars and take some photos for me. And then that was basically it.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't do actual hires yet.
So you probably heard Tiff say this, because she says this all the time. Like, do not make a single hire until you come out to the 2-day workshop to learn how to do it properly, right? Make sure you're recruiting the right people, putting them in the right seats, onboarding them effectively, and operating in a high-performing management process. So it sounds like you listen to that, which is great. So you jump into small group, right? And you start working with your coach. What were the 2 to 3 things that you guys focused on, like right out the gate?
2 to 3 things. I would say, I would say probably the scorecard. That was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So writing down our like KPIs, tracking it on the scorecard. That was the main thing. Which at first I thought was annoying, because my CRM tracks all my KPIs for me. So I was like, bro, what is that? What is this? Like, we're going back to 2015, like, bro, everything's just automatically tracked. So that was like one of the first things, doing everything through the scorecard. Obviously, I got a different opinion now. But that was my thought process in the beginning. Another thing he wanted I would say the main thing is just he just wanted to know what my numbers were and tracking my numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to listen to my acquisition calls, or I guess my calls as an acquisition guy.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So tracking the numbers, do you mind elaborating a little bit more as to why you think it's important to do that on a Google Sheet versus just reading off the CRM?
Yeah. I'm a believer now on it, 100%. So like with the CRM, it's nice because it's automatically tracked, but having it written down, because all my guys now, so I got 5 acquisition managers, everyone writes it down, and I'm almost excited for them to ask that question, because another one of my guys, like, because he's from Egypt, he's like, Dan, why do we got to, why do I do everything on the sheets, man? I'm like, look, Samir, you have to do it in, like, you have to manually do it, even though the CRM tracks it, because now it's accountability. It forces you to look at it. And then as you're writing it down too, you have to go search for it, you write it down, and then you're seeing everyone else's numbers. So it's just a different level of accountability. So that's one. And then number 2, we're actually looking at it. And that would be the main difference. Because like the KPIs that I have in my CRM that are automatically tracked, it's almost one of those things where it's nice to have, where I can just kind of pull it up and show it to someone, but it doesn't really mean anything because I'm not looking at it on a daily basis and saying, hey, let's improve here. This is what we need to focus on. So I would say that would be one of the main things. Also, too, the insight board was another main thing he had us do. I forgot about that because I hated that too. So basically, the insight board, for people that don't know, is anytime we process a call, all these things, and people are going to be like, what is he talking about? But anytime we have a property that we're ready to make an offer on, we'd write down the details of that information on a specific sheet, and then we'd review it together the next day in our meetings. And that was one of the things that initially we hated at first too, but it's one of the best things that we do on a daily basis. So
yeah, and to put it into even like the simplest form is like to think of it as a daily sales pipeline review. Like any deals that you feel like you're going to put in contract this week, that's what you're discussing. It's the most urgent, important objectives for the day and for the week.
Yeah, and not only that too, but a lot of times what happens is I'm going through the insight board of some of the guys. They'll say, "Oh, I forgot about this one. Yes, you're right. This one really is a hot lead." Or we're going through the insight board and they'll process the lead, even if the price is still high. But I tell you, obviously, if the motivation is there and they're urgent, still process it. They'll do it. And we'll go through the insight board and they'll say, yeah, I don't really think it's really that good of a lead though, because they want 200 and the resale value is 220. And then I read through the motivation and it's like, no, I need to sell. All this is going on. I have to move out of state. This is going on. I want 200. ARV is 220. I'm like, bro, it doesn't matter what price they're asking. Number one, they have to sell because the property needs all this work. So they have to make a decision and do something. And then number 2, like, not only do they have to sell, but they have to make a decision quick. It's not something they can wait around and just handle next year. Like, they got to decide on something. So make the offer. And almost always what happens is we make the offer and they're like, oh my God, they accepted it. I'm like, yeah, I know.
So that's a huge nugget for anyone listening that I'm going to double down on right now. And this is, I think it's just acquisition people in general. They get so used to looking at, okay, this is the asking price. And they got it built in their head that if we're significantly less than that, that it's a dead opportunity. But that couldn't be the biggest lie and the biggest like misconception that I think people who are talking to sellers all day, every day have. Motivation matters more than anything else. If you're in foreclosure and your auction in 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, you can't list the house and sell it for retail, right? That's just not even in the cards. And so you're going to have to go a route if you want to make any money on the property, right? So that's awesome to hear that your guys have bought into that and that you guys have taken that full on. So
I tell them this all the time. I'm like, look, there's a difference between like working here as like an acquisition manager and like having like an hourly paid job, just taking orders. Like, you're not doing that. You're not just taking orders, because now you're just competing on price and you're not going to get anywhere. You got to be able to dig deep and ask questions. Like, that's the whole point. One of my guys this month is going to break 15, maybe like 14,000 in pay. So I'm excited about that. And obviously he's put in a lot of work. So But one of the main things is like obviously like the sell side of the business. I think people just forget about it. Like although you're buying the property, you're doing the acquisition, people want to sell. You still have to have those skills. You gotta ask those uncomfortable questions, which is the motivation. Because if you don't, you're not going to know like who to spend time on and who not to spend time on.
Yeah, and what's awesome too, I can tell this by the way that you're talking, and anyone who hasn't built a team, or even if they have, they may not understand this. The reason that you're able to coach your team up and hold them accountable to exactly that is because you have a clearly defined process. You have a qualification process.
Yeah.
Right? So you know that they've got to be ready to make a yes or no decision. They're urgent. You know that if they're motivated, it's qualified regardless of what their asking price is.
Yeah.
And then if they're not motivated, then you can look at price and qualify based on price. And then obviously our last ditch effort is condition. But you're able to hold people accountable because you've already trained. They know what to do and how to do it and what the expectations are. So you can coach them up, hold them accountable, and that's what drives the result at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So you come in, you implement the sales process. You're listening to calls largely because now you have clarity. You have more line of sight now to your KPIs, so you know where the issues are. In fact, let's spend a little bit of time on that. When you started tracking your KPIs, like what's a recent example with the acquisitions team? Just say the acquisitions team where there was a conversion that was off. And then what action did you take to go optimize that or fix that conversion?
Yeah. So I would say the closest would be, I remember Steve and I were going through one of my virtual guys, like whenever we did our meetings, I forget the exact number, but it's his offers to contracts ratio was really off. I think it was like, we wanted it to be like 2-1 or something like that. And I think his was like 6-1, like every 6 offers he would make, we'd get it under contract. And I think what Steve would call it is you're basically just throwing mud on the wall and hoping for it to stick.
Yeah.
This was a while ago though. So I don't remember the exact details, but I started, and it made sense that it was happening because Omar was one of my first virtual guys. He wasn't in office. All my in office guys, like their numbers were spot on, right where it needed to be. It was like 2-1, which was perfect. So like with Omar, we just spent some more time one-on-one. And then I reviewed his offer calls, and now pretty much the whole office is on a 2-1 ratio. So
yeah, that's awesome. So to put that into perspective for everyone listening, if it goes from one of every 2 offers becoming a contract to one of 6, that means that there's 2 deals that were lost. Because with 6 offers, you should have had 3 contracts, but with 6 offers, you only had 1. So 2 lost opportunities multiplied by what's your average profit per deal that you guys are seeing right now?
22,000.
So that's $44,000 worth of lost opportunity over that period of time that those conversions were going on. Guys, this is the importance behind tracking the KPIs, and not just tracking them, but going back, identifying the problem and fixing it quickly so we don't have that type of leakage in the business. And that's what you were able to knock out pretty quickly, which is awesome to see.
Yeah.
So we were able to get that back up to speed. So what's like a current challenge that you and your coach are working through right now? Like what's the main objective or objectives that you guys are focused on?
Yeah. So, number one, I want to tighten up the process a little bit on the dispo side. That's what I've been bugging him about, because we've been getting a lot more properties lately. Like I just hired another dispo manager, but he's overseas as well. But right now we have 5 acquisition managers, so 5 closers, and we've had 1 dispo manager. And my dispo manager, like poor Lily, she's just been overwhelmed. And we've had a lot of deals just not being able to be underwritten properly and then marketed out on time. So we finally got another person on. So just cleaning up our dispo process has been one of the main things. And then the second thing is I need to get a sales manager brought into the company. That way I have a little bit more time. Right now I'm skipping lunch. It's been great, which is good because the reason this happened is I didn't realize like things were going to ramp up as much as it has been like the past 6 months, and which is great. But it's been ramping up so much where if I'm not getting things submitted and done at a certain time, everyone else is in the office is like on the dispo side is yelling at me like, "Hey Dan, get this approved so we can start the marketing." So
yeah. So how many contracts did you guys get last month?
Last month was, I think it was like 34, 30, 30, 34, somewhere around there.
Which is incredible. Now, are all of those wholesale deals, or are you guys doing multiple exits?
No, no, no. Wholesale and flips and rentals. So I
Yeah.
buy rentals, flips. So I think last month though they were all wholesale actually.
So you're dispo person's trying to move 34 contracts in 30
Yeah,
days.
yeah, yeah. I
That's
know. I
awesome.
know. She's
That's a workload, man.
yeah, no, she loves the having the busyness and everything, but then at some point and poor Lily, she's like, "Oh no, we don't need to get another dispo manager. I can take care of it all. We don't need it." And then now we got someone else on dispo that's like a junior, more of like an assistant to her.
Nice.
Oh no, no, this was a good idea. We needed this. So,
Yeah,
that's
that's
good.
good. Yeah, as long as she's able to manage that. I mean, I get the words, but monitoring the behaviors to make sure that there's not burnout
Yeah.
is going to be very important, right? And sounds like you guys are already on top of that, which is great to see.
Yeah. And then just for clear numbers too, because I hate giving just yeah, so it was 35, 34 contracts last month. 28 of them came from cold calling, from our cold calling campaign. Six of them came from our PPC campaign. And then as far as closed deals as well, it was yeah, bro, I hate like KPIs, like those numbers are important to me.
For sure.
Yeah, so 182 for closed deals as well, which we only had 8 deals closed last month. So that's another thing I want to work on as well too. With my coaches, like having multiple exit strategies.
Yeah.
So we're having more deals closed. Like 34 contracts is nice.
What
I
are you
think,
guys seeing on a success rate? Is it like 60%, 50%?
yeah, yeah, I'd say around like 65-ish%. These past few months, it's dipped, but we've got around like 44 properties in the pipeline right now. That's under contract, and then we have 5 other properties that we're in the middle of renovating right now, and actually 3 we're in the middle of renovating right now. 2 are listed on the market for sale right now. So until those all sell, like right, it's actually dropped our numbers down a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're in the 40s right now.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, this is business, right? We implement systems, processes, we experience growth on the front end. Then transactions or dispo may not be built to handle the growth in contracts, and so then once you optimize acquisitions, then you move over and you optimize transactions and or dispo, and then you move on and then you optimize your fulfillment, which in this case is your exit strategies, right? So how do we make sure we're doing more flips and we're able to close more of these deals? So you're on the right progression. It's awesome to see that you got the front end marketing and acquisitions dialed in, and now you're focusing on the right activities to make sure that you have better throughput. So congrats on all that, man. Congrats on the success and all the hard work. It's incredible to watch your guys' growth here over the years. And I always have one last question I'd like to leave all the listeners with. If you can go back and think of yourself, whether it was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, before you started working with the results driven, if you could give yourself a piece of advice, what would that be?
Hire sooner.
Mm.
Yeah. So one of the things that Tiffany said in one of the meeting, like I think it was my first time seeing it in person, is I think she said you have to hire yourself first, is what she said, somewhere along those lines. You
Yep.
gotta be your first hire, and that hit me. I was like, oh, okay, well that makes sense. Like if I'm because that's what I'm technically doing is I'm bringing myself on as a hire working for myself, and if I'm willing to do it, bring other people on as well too. Like I think just moving quicker to hiring would have been my first my main advice to myself back then.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. We shared this often where we say our number one regret was not hiring sooner.
Yeah.
Better late than never, right? But hiring sooner to give us back more of our time. And really the key conversation, I'll never forget this, that Tiff and I had with someone that was at another event with us
Yeah.
is at the time it was just Tiff and myself. We hadn't hired anyone yet. And they had pulled us aside and said, you guys don't get it. Like, at what point do you understand that your job should be focused on, like, you're running around chasing down the next deal. You're just closing deals. What you should be doing is you should be closing heads. And we're like, what do you mean? So if you go recruit people, right, every person you bring into the organization, if it's done right, where you have the proper onboarding, you're putting the right person in the right seat, you have the right KPIs that you're managing them to and management framework in place. If you're doing all of those things correctly, then he had mentioned that they should bring in $50,000 a month minimum per head. Instead of you chasing down the next $30,000 deal, now you have someone who's able to consistently and repeatedly bring income to the business. And that was what really opened up our eyes. And we're like, wow, we're looking at this business all wrong. This is a people business. It's not just doing real estate deals. Yeah, that's the product, but this is a business no different than anything else. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah. No, I had a lot of anxiety around the idea of hiring in the beginning because, that's someone else's livelihood and everything.
Yep.
But honestly, like I started getting the results myself, and I just stayed doing a one-man show way longer than I really should have. I initially started back in January of 2020, and I did my first hire 2 years ago, basically, like when I started with you guys, so like sometime 2024. So that's way too long of me doing it by myself. So yeah, definitely hiring sooner would have been my main thing. And not only that too, but it's almost like having a kid. You know how everyone says like there's no right time to have a kid?
Yep.
You know what I mean? They're like, you'll never be ready. You always think, hey, I could have this more prepared. Same thing with hiring. But once you do it, you're forced to become a better person and grow your business to be able to support them too. So
I love that analogy. I've never thought of it that way, but you're absolutely spot on. And I'm curious though, like what things did you have that increased your confidence in your ability to hire and do it the right way? And I agree that when you're hiring people, like you need to understand that it's a very serious thing. Like their livelihood is absolutely on the line. So that's very important that you take that seriously. But what gave you more confidence to do that?
So, I mean, a few things so I've had several months consistently where I was hitting like 100,000 a month in revenue, and I still wasn't confident in like bringing someone on. Like I had the mindset like, man, maybe it was just a lucky couple of months. I might lose everything next month. The market might crash. Yeah. And I think the main thing is I just didn't really know, like I didn't want to bring someone on and not know like what to have them do and like how to pay them. Like there were just so many questions that I just had, and like the fear of the unknown, that acronym, like fear, false expectations appearing real. So I had all these things. So, which is why small group was really big for me, because now like I could get those answers specific to those questions when it comes to hiring. And then because I didn't have those issues anymore, literally right after I did sign up for small group, I did the office visit. I think I did your office visit like 3 times in a row. Like I went 1 month, the next month I came back to Columbus again. And then the next month I came back again. And then I brought like a 360 camera and I mapped your whole office. I was like, all right, I'm going to make my office exactly like Tiffany's and Josh's. And then right after that, I signed a lease for the office that I'm in now. And it's a huge office space. I mean, there's 2 like offices like I'm in now in it, and then 1 big open common area for everyone. But just because I knew what I was doing now, I just had more confidence in that. So
yeah. You had the clarity, you had the guidance, and talk about taking copying and pasting to a whole nother level, man. The people that are typically the most successful in our program are the people who do those types of things. Yeah. They literally map out the office the exact same way and everything in between.
So, I just know how to copy. Yeah. I'm not very smart. You already passed the test. I'm just going to copy what you guys did.
Yeah, there you go. I love it, man. Well, I appreciate you making some time here today. Thank you for sharing all the insight here with the listeners. And like I said, man, it's been awesome to see your guys' success, and congrats on all of that. I love seeing you guys put in the hard work and all of that paying off.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.